Okay, to continue. Well, I've already had some very good follow-up questions on what I've said so far. Surprisingly quickly. It's only been a few days. And the main one is about warming up. I said that to play a plastic recorder, whether it's alto or tenor or whatever, one needs to correctly warm up. And many wind instruments, not all, one has to warm up before playing them. Certainly that applied to the trumpet, which I played many years ago. And especially vital with plastic. And as I say, when I say plastic, I mean resin stroke plastic. Most modern plastics are resin based anyway. And with it cannot absorb the moisture which will come from your spittle, which will end up through your breath into the instrument you're playing. It can't absorb it. Now wood can. So a wooden recorder doesn't have such a problem in that area. They have other problems. We don't need to get into that now. But so it's essential to warm up correctly. Now I said you warm up over 10 to 20, 25 minutes, and during this period of time, you're not actually playing very much. Now somebody asked me already, well, put a figure on it. How many minutes are you probably actually playing? Say over a 25-minute warm up. How many minutes of that are you actually playing? Because I said most of the time during that you're not actually playing, you're resting. And for 25 minutes, I came up with a figure of about 8 to 10 minutes dotted out, breaks between, while your instrument gradually gets used to receiving your damp breath and the moisture which we'll get from your breath, of course. So really, it's as I say, you don't actually play very much during that warm-up period. In some ways, you don't, and it is essential that that is done correctly. If you just pick up a recorder and play it continuously, especially a resin one, you're going to have problems. It's going to become clogged. Another question I was asked is, what about in the winter? Is there a difference? Well, it's bad to play a cold recorder front piece or mouthpiece. I say mouthpiece because I used to play the trumpet. But you know the part I mean. On my Alos and Yamaha, it's coloured cream. It's the top part of it. Sorry about that. That section there, which is cream on this is the Alos. It's cream. You can say front piece, there's 2 or 3. But anyway, and I told you that only the tip is going between your lips. And one has to gradually play it. When it's cold during the winter, it's a particular problem. Some players who play the alto, which of course has got a much smaller front area there, take it off and put it in their bags or handbags. Some ladies who play the alto do, and they keep it warm that way before they're playing, before they're playing in a rock group or whatever. But you can't really do that with something that size so easily. You can if you've got a bag, but probably not a lady's handbag. It's much, much bigger. But it is important to make sure it is warm before you're playing. So that is another thing one has to think about. The temperature of the recorder, and especially the mouthpiece. I call it the mouthpiece as an ex-trumpet player. But I'm sure all of you listening to this and watching this will know exactly what I mean. The cream part on here at the tip. So it is important. Some people put it up their sleeve for 15 minutes before they start playing. Again, not so easy with a big recorder, quite easy with an alto. So those are some of the things which one has to consider. It needs to be warm. So then I was asked, well, during the summer, does it matter this warm up? And the answer is it always matters. You always have to get your instrument used to receiving your damp breath and the moisture which you won't get from that. Some people blow drier than others. Reverting again to my old days as a trumpet player, it used to be said that Harry James, a famous trumpet player, name of the war years and early 50s, mid 50s, blowed incredibly dry, and he didn't have to empty his trumpet of a spittle. There's a sort of a key on a trumpet if you shake, because he blew his trumpet incredibly dry. I never. We're all different. I think people with very thin lips have it easier. I think I've got slightly more fleshy lips. So this is why it's essential that I do this right. And I've mentioned the Yamaha and the Altos. Sorry, Alos. And the Yamaha actually will clog a bit more easily than the Alos, but both will clog if attention isn't given to gradually warming up. So it's important to get this right. Both will clog. But as I say, I think people with slightly more fleshy lips have more of a problem. And the Yamaha, as I'm comparing the Yamaha and the Alos quite a lot, as the two top resin recorders which you can buy, the Yamaha does clog a bit easier. But both will clog if you don't warm up correctly and then play correctly using correct playing techniques. As I say, just put in the tip between your lips is a very essential one. The Yamaha, actually, of the two top resin recorder makes, does assume you're going to be a better player. It's a bit unforgiving. The Alos, anyone can play it with a bit of practice. It's a very nice instrument. It's got a lovely big sound. The Yamaha has got a beautiful tone, but it does presume you're already at least an intermediate player, if not a professional player. And the Yamaha I've got, I bought from an experienced orchestral player who is a flautist, and she wasn't very often called upon to play the recorder at all, but she needed to have it. And I'm glad I bought it from an orchestral player, because I knew it would have been extremely well looked after, and indeed it's like new, although it's 30 years old. So the Yamaha is a bit more unforgiving than the Alos. So the Yamaha, and there's various types, but usually the run-of-the-mill one, or not the run-of-the-mill, the top ones, well, all of them really, the Alos is more forgiving. The Yamaha is just going to assume that you're already at least an intermediate player, if not higher. So it's a bit more unforgiving of things you might do wrong. So these are the two top ones. I've also got a Kevin Mayhew, which I'm looking to sell at the moment, which is really a sort of a more of a beginner's tenor recorder. And it's got the advantages that it will play extremely quietly, which is very good, because you don't want to annoy people, especially when you're learning. So those are the few extra comments I wanted to make about that. Matter of warming up, whether it still has to be done in the summer, and the answer is yes. And how, as I said to you, you're not actually playing that much during that warming up period of 15 to 25 minutes. But it is important. And if you just pick up your recorder and blow away continuously hardly with a break, you will have problems. This is especially, you'll get clogging, especially with resin. You'll get clogging. You'll get intonation problems. You'll get a certain hoarseness of sound. And then suddenly your top register will disappear, and your bottom register too. And you'll find you're only left with notes between the staves, and they're not very good or clear either. So it is essential. So I will show you how to regularly get some of the moisture out of your recorder. But I'll show you the single best way. I'm also going to give you the details of a website which gives you a great deal of details on some of these things. So we'll carry on from here.